Shalom and welcome to a special Hebrew lesson on the sacred name of God. Sacred name of God as revealed by God to Moses, and we read about it in Exodus chapter 3. It's interesting that Moses' main concern when God asks him to go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go isn't that Pharaoh might not believe him, but that the leaders of Israel would not believe him. And I reckon they would have held long meetings, the Israelite leaders and elders, discussing and arguing about what they had done to bring this affliction on themselves. Moses probably would have gone along to some of the meetings when he was still living in Egypt. And they would have talked endlessly about what have we done wrong that God is punishing us like this, and so what does God want us to do? And all this leads to what is God like? And this is supremely encapsulated in God's name. Once they found out its true name, they would know what they needed to do. Perhaps even they felt they could get a handle on him and start to manipulate him with religious rituals and sacrifices and so on, like they saw Egyptian priests doing with their gods. So that's why Moses asked God his name in Exodus 3 verse 13. And that's also why God gives an unexpected name. A name that's really a little bit like a non-name. Let's have a look at it. V'yomer Elohim el Moshe Ehyeh asher ehyeh. So, this is Exodus 3:14, and he said, God said to Moshe. Notice how this name is quite different to the form that we have in English, Moses, which has gone through Greek and Latin and probably French as well to be quite changed, but you still see people in Israel today who take the name Moshe. And there it is, the original Hebrew form of Moses' name. Ehyeh asher ehyeh. I will be who I will be. So this here means the I part, and this part here is the verb be, and it's used in what's called the imperfect. So we could translate it as I am who I am, or I will be who I will be. English has three tenses, past, present and future, but Hebrew has two, not really tenses, they're technically called aspects. One of them indicates basically that something is past or realized, another one that it's either in process or in the future. So that's why this here could be translated as I am who I am, or I will be who I will be. So the name of God is going to come out of this form, which it's very similar to. We'll see it in the next verse. Perhaps it comes from an older form of this. So a name in Hebrew, in traditional Hebrew culture and in other traditional cultures as well, is kind of the defining label on a person. So it could be a negative label like cheat or liar, or it could be a positive label like beautiful or beloved or something like that. But in each case, it kind of defines the person and so puts a certain limit on the person. That's what they are like. So God's name here, by contrast, this is why I call it really a non-name, because the definition doesn't tell you anything. I will be whoever I will be. You can't put me in a box. You can't predict exactly what I'm going to do, because you don't know everything about me. V'yomer ko tomar Libnei Yisrael ehi shlachani elechem. I will be, has sent me to you. Anochi Yahweh. So here we have it. This is Exodus 20, verses 2 and 3, the introduction to the 10 Commandments. So the form of the word that we had in the last verse has been changed a little bit here. So this possibly, as I said, reflects an older form of the name. But I was saying that the name is kind of a non-name, kind of non-defining, non-delimiting, but also there's a second strand, and that is common in the Bible. A name is played on. The different meanings and the sound of it as well is played on. And to us modern people, word plays are usually just a joke, just for fun. But in ancient culture, before the advent of modern linguistics and its scientific approach, the form of a word was seen as having significance and often expressing fitting things. So they were used in a serious sense. And in fact, if we go back in Exodus 3, the first kind of hint at the name occurred in verse 12, when God said to Moses, I will be with you. I will be with you. Surely it's significant that this, the first introduction of the name, goes with the promise of God's presence and help. And now here, at the beginning of the 10 Commandments, we're looking at a further play on the name. Elohecha asher hotzeticha, I brought you out, me'aretz Mitzrayim, mi'beth Revadim. Lo yehyeh, there will not be. See, here it is, the word play. There will not be to you Elohim acharim, gal panaya. So this, to me, often you find translators and commentators, modern Western translators and commentators, don't even notice this or don't think it's significant. But in the terms of a traditional culture, where, as I said, the name and the sound of words are seen as having, not just a random label, but they do have significance. And so here the significance of the name is played on to bring out this other sense. There will not be to you any other gods. So what do we get here? Elohecha, your God, I brought you out from the house of slaves. This is the plural ending here. This is from Mitzrayim. This is the form of Egypt, from the land. Not will be to you Elohim acharim. This is the plural, al panai, my face. So again, this is the type of thing that as a modern Westerner we might look at it and think, oh, that's just a chance resemblance, or maybe he's making a joke. But not so in traditional culture. This is seen as, in some ways, a significant or a fitting thing that can be deduced from the name of God. Now we come to Joshua, chapter 3, verse 7. V'yomer Yahweh el Yehoshua ka'asher hayiti yim Moshe ehyeh yimeka. By the way, I should mention that in my numbered Hebrew lesson number 2, I look more at this name here in some more detail that I'm not mentioning here. But Joshua 3:7 gives us another case of the name being played on, and said Yahweh to Yehoshua. Notice how the form of the name has greatly changed when it's come into English. Ka'asher, as that I was with Moshe, Ehye Yemecha, with you. So again, here we're playing on the, there's the verb be, and in its very similar form to Yahweh. And again, this is a deliberate play on the name, and it's using it to make the affirmation to Joshua. He's taking over as the new leader and perhaps needing a little bit of boost in confidence. So God says, look, it comes right out of my own name. I will be with you. And here we have Jeremiah 24:7, وَنَثَتِي لَهِمْ لَيْvْ لِدَعَرَتْ أُثِي ki ani Yahweh وَحَيُّ لِلْرَمْ وَأَنَوْكِي Ehye lahem lelohim. So there we see it again. To them heart to know me, for I am Yahweh, and they will be for me for a people, and I will be, notice the freestanding form and the form attached to the verb, for them, for or as God. So here the name of God is used in this sentence, I will be their God. Again, this comes out of the name. Again, it's not a central part of the name, part of the original significance of the name, but as I said, it's drawn out of the form of it to make other appropriate and fitting statements. We had the one about I will be with you, and here we have I will be their God. I have a translation of the New Testament into Hebrew done by Salkinson and Ginsburg, and in Revelation 16 verse 5 we read a remarkable 4 forms of the word be in a row. Yahweh, the one who was, and who is, and who will be. That's 4 forms of the word be in a row. Okay, so what about translation into other languages? In the Septuagint, the first ever translation of the Bible, God was nameless. The translators just used theos, the general word for God or a God. They didn't use any of the personal names of God that the Hebrews knew, or any of the names of gods of Greeks or anyone else. It surprised everyone in the ancient world, but Christian writers laid much stress on the point that it was fitting that the supreme God should have no name, being far above the petty gods of the peoples. Coming down to modern times, some translators have followed their lead. Some have used made-up names, for example the Chinese Jianchu, Lord of Heaven, and some borrow a name used in a major language like Greek Theos or Latin Deus or English God. But interestingly, within the last few decades, more than 20 English versions have taken a form of the Hebrew name Yahweh and inserted it in often in existing translations, especially the King James Version. So we have the Sacred Name King James Version 2005, so there's just the King James Version with Lord or God replaced by the Hebrew name directly borrowed. So some people feel that there is significance in the exact form of the name, and they want it to appear in their translation. So whatever you might think about that, but to me, I say, learn Hebrew and read it in the original. To conclude, I'd like to go back to the wonderful promise of Joshua chapter 3 verse 7, the verse that we just looked at. It said, Ka'asher haytha rim Moshe ehye rimecha. As I was with Moses, I will be with you.